For everyone who could create music, there are 10 people that are going to tell you why you're no good at it, right? And the number of times I heard from people, you'll never work in this industry again, you'll never do this, you're rubbish, you're not going to do this right. No, this is what happens. These are the pressures that are applied to you when you are having some measure of success. And if you don't do what certain people want you to do, they will say these things to you. It's just words. But sometimes you have to be like...
So welcome to another episode of the Unspoken Word Podcast with myself, Shane. Now, on this episode of the Unspoken Word Podcast, we've had to bring back our lovely guest from season 1. And I mean, when I first had him in the chair, and I did say, this is a podcast that the community was waiting for. Well, I weren't wrong at all, because I'll tell you, if you go back and watch episode 3, if I remember right, that's the number, then you will know exactly who I've got in the chair. It's lovely and an honour to have Nathan Lockett back in the chair. Nathan, welcome back to the Unspoken Word Podcast. How are we doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you for having me back, Shane.
Likewise. Season 1 was, for me, a phenomenon, and you were part of that journey, and it was lovely to have you on to talk through like your journey and how that all come together in the beginning. And just on reflection, how did you think it went?
It was difficult to know. I mean, as people seem to have enjoyed it, and I'm pleased that, you know, me sharing my little bits and bobs was entertaining enough that people could be engaged and watched it. I'm thankful.
Of course. And there was loads of moments that even just watching it back as well, I really enjoyed it as well. So it's great to have you back on. But before we get stuck in, how's life treating you as a whole?
Yeah, good. Can't grumble. Same old. Working, enjoying my family life. Yeah. Can't grumble.
Can't grumble at all. All right, let's get stuck right in. Okay, so in our previous episode, we talked through the beginning, growing up in Croydon, first steps into music, how did that, your experiences, the parties during the 80s and those days. Then we sort of moved into the rave scene, the culture, and what those days were like. We moved into the early 90s and we spoke about the ministry and doors opening, friendship and the guys, the connection that you made with those guys at the time. Of course, the Riddler. Some lessons learnt from that.
Learning moments,
yeah, we could say that. Yeah. And that kind of drove you into making those iconic moment tracks, I like Going On, to name a few, and meeting with Gavin Face and how that sort of come together. So I kind of want to touch a little bit more about the production side of things on this episode of the Unspoken Word. So we kind of want to get stuck in there, if that's all right.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it, mate.
Yeah, brilliant. And of course, just before we get touched on that, if this is your first time watching the Unspoken Word podcast, link in the descriptions for season 1 as well. And also do check out Nathan's part 1 as well. So do check that out because it is worth a watch indeed.
Like, share, subscribe.
You said it. Love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. So if we touch a little bit on the Birth of Baffled. Okay. Yep. So we touched on a little bit on that in season 1. Now, what in terms of the gear and equipment use, you touched about the Atari, if I remember rightly speaking. Mm-hmm. What other equipment in those early days? So taken away from the Riddler, okay, what other equipment now at this point where you sort of dabbling into at that point? So for the earlier Baffled stuff. At this point?
we had a pretty simple setup. I had a Mackie 16 channel. Funny enough, like a rotary mixer.
Okay.
Similar to the Neve mixers that they use in American nightclubs, but it was it was interesting because it was a stereo mixer. Okay. So it had 2 inputs on every channel. It wasn't really designed for what we were doing.
Okay.
Didn't really have parametric EQs and things like that. But that having a simpler mixer meant that you were forced to put the right sounds through it. So I think that was a benefit. You couldn't do so much with the desk, which meant that you had to kind of make sure you were putting the right sounds into the mixer. So you did very little actually EQing and stuff with the mixer. That was nice, a nice and simple desk.
Okay.
That had inserts and aux sends and stuff, and we just had very basic effects units linked up to it. We had oh gosh, what do we have? We had an Oasis 3630 compressor, which was really good, which had a gate on it. You can hear that gate on, I think it's Waiting by the Dub Monsters, where the vocals stutter. So you can sidechain a gate by putting a clap. If you want to go deep into what we're talking about, straight into the production, deep dive and all that. Yeah. You can sidechain a clap into a gate, and you can actually you can put a vocal through it, and then you can trigger the gate using a clap into the input.
Oh,
that's one use for a sidechain input. And then if you also compress it at the same time, you get a burst. It's more, it gives it more of a kind of a snap.
Right.
So that was one really good use for that. We also used to use that for compressing bass and stuff. So that was part of our bass sound. We had some TLA Valve EQs. So we did have parametric EQs. We bought some in the end, but we more bought those for the Valve input stages to give some warmth and a little bit of distortion. I was quite into mangling sounds, as I spoke in the last podcast. Yeah. And part of that mangling sounds, if you've got a Valve input stage, you can overdrive it and it gives you that analog warmth. We had, I think it was a MIDI verb, just a really basic kind of reverb and delay and effects unit, digital effects unit. But that was nice because you could patch the delay through the EQ on the desk and send it back and give it those kind of dubby Lee Scratch Perry repeating echo things. So not having much gear but having a lot of leads.
Yeah, of course.
You could kind of stick it all together in different ways. In terms of sound modules, again, very basic stuff. Apart from the Kurzweil sampler, which I talked about in the last episode. We had D110, which is where that marimba sound comes from, which is on Waiting and Tumbling Down and Things I Never. That also had some quite good drum sounds on it, some nice drum, some cymbal sounds, ride cymbals and things that we would use became part of our sound. Okay. What else? We had a D50 keyboard, which is quite stringy, nice washy pads and stuff, give you a bit of atmosphere in the background for sweeps and sustained string sounds.
D50, is that Yamaha?
Roland.
Yeah. Always get between the two.
The D50s was a Roland.
Okay.
And yeah, just a couple of sound modules. I think we had a thing called a Technox, which we used to use in the end for, again, some drum sounds, and it had one bass sound on there.
Just one,
which we used about 500 times because it was just a nice sound. And once you started distorting it through the Valve input stages and into the compressor and give it a little tweak on the desk, the Mackie desk only had a 3-band EQ, so it would only bump at 80 hertz, which is exactly where you want it for bass. So it would just the whole thing gave us that really warm kind of subby bottom end feel. And that was about it really. We had some other bits and bobs. I mean. Excuse me. We had some drum machines as we progressed. Okay. So we managed to get our hands on some drum machines. So we had an SP1200 and an MPC 60.
Which out of the two? Just stop you there. Out of the two, which did you prefer using?
Difficult to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. They both have strengths and weaknesses.
Okay. So
we would use them in different ways.
Okay.
So something like an SP1200 1200 is really well known for the triplets.
That's
so
right.
the 16 triplets. Which, so for drum programming, you would use that. So they have sequences in them, and they also have basic sampling. It's certainly in the SP1200. But the sample side of the SP1200 was very, very grungy and gave you some very kind of, rather than having a hissy hi-hat, you would have a shushy hi-hat. If that makes sense. So you get
I could agree with that. Yeah.
So you'd have the triplets, and you would have the kind of grungier, more chunkier 8-bit kind of sounds. The MPC 60 had a different. I don't know. I can't remember if it was 8 or 16-bit, but it was a different digital to analog to digital conversion.
Why do I think it was 16? I don't know.
I honestly can't remember.
I can't remember. Yeah,
but it had a different sound. Had a different sound. So texturally, in our studio, you would have a kick drum coming off this drum machine. You'd have a hi-hat coming off that drum machine. You'd have a ride cymbal coming off of this sound module. You'd have a clap coming from here, and you'd have a sample drum loop coming out the Kurzweil, which is being mangled with some nice tambourines and things, and then a bass sound from over here, and then a wash from here. Even though we had a very basic setup, we certainly learned to use it not to its full extent. We were never that good.
Wow.
No. We were never classically trained, and we never really understood engineering, which was, again, so you just go with what sounds good, right?
Yeah.
And then if you trust your ears and you're listening to the right records, and you say, right, I really like the way this drum sounds on this Masters at Work record. How can I make my drum sound like that drum sound?
Yeah.
And normally you do it by sampling it. But then you add your own aspect to it, so you overdrive it slightly, or having a basic setup, I think,
helped.
Was better, for us, because it forced us to be creative with what we were doing in terms of melodies and bass lines and the actual writing of the music, and how we used Cubase creatively.
Later on, did you use any other music digital audio workstation apart from Cubase?
As we progressed, we got into Macs, and we started using Logic Audio.
Yeah. Okay. When it was Logic Audio at the time. Yes, of course. Remember when Logic was on PC once upon a time?
Never really got on with PCs.
Did you not?
No, I went straight from Atari to Mac.
To Mac?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was making too much money.
Yeah. Well, I had to start.
That was then, by
the way. Yeah, because
yeah.
Macs were very expensive.
I've got a work laptop now,
Well,
I've got GarageBand on my phone. That's it.
And technology's evolved so much now. I mean, you can pretty much make music on anything now.
It's an interesting topic. When we started making music, samplers had come down in price level, and so the entry, there was a much lower barrier to entry. So when people first started recording popular music, 50s, 60s, 70s or whatever, it was men in suits in Abbey Road with, stood at these big things, and so there were like power station knobs that they turned, and it was all of, it was a science.
Yeah.
And then that became, massive 128 channel Neve and SSL desks and things that cost £500,000 and £1 million and reverbs that cost this. So you had to spend £50,000, £100,000. When we started, you could spend £1,000 and you could just run pirated software on an Atari and spend £1,000 on a sampler and a couple of sound modules and a keyboard and make music in your house.
Exactly.
And that really, I think that really democratized music.
Really?
Because it allowed people like me to get involved. And I would never have got involved had I needed to go to, one of these big studios, because they're £1,000, £2,000, £5,000 a day. Yeah. You're recording to tape, you've got an engineer, and you've got a tape op, and you've got an assistant engineer, and you've got a runner who goes out and gets you a curry and brings it back. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You're employing 5 people
to do.
Whereas you could you could buy a very simple Atari which had a MIDI output on it, plug in a system, and learn to make dance music.
Yeah.
And so it really democratised it. I think now, with the advent of MP3 and things like GarageBand on your phone, it's much more difficult because the barrier to entry is so low that the market is flooded, and basically it's incredibly difficult. I feel so sorry for people with talent or something to say musically now, because there's 99% of it is white noise, and for them to get above that white noise and be noticed is incredibly difficult. And to get signed now, you've got to have 500,000 followers, and you've got to have this, and you've got to have this whole 360. No one wants to sign you and put music out anymore. Now they want to sign you and have your image rights, and it's a whole different ballgame now, and it's much more difficult
to when you started, and that's without AI.
Yeah, well, I mean, AI can only copy.
Exactly.
AI can't really be creative.
No.
AI learns from what? From IP that's been created already. And it's not. It takes a human to come up with a melody.
No, but who knows what the next.
I mean, you can randomise a melody and you might strike it lucky and get one, but AI doesn't. AI learns from stuff that's been made, and yes, we all take influences on board, and yes, we all sampled and we stole sounds from people and stuff, but it's to do with your life experience
as well.
And if you go to AI and say, make me a UK garage track, it's gonna listen to 10 UK garage tracks and make a facsimile of that.
Yeah.
It's not gonna bring nothing new to the table.
Exactly.
So don't bother me.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, there's really, I mean, I still work around people in the creative industries. I still know people who are involved in the creative industries, and ultimately the big issue now is just controlling your IP and controlling how these large your Googles and whoever are using your IP to teach their AI.
Yeah.
That's the big issue.
That's quite scary as well when you're looking at it like that. But yeah, it's true. It's the facts.
But it still needs people to, you've still got to have someone to put the tree into the thing to make the matchsticks. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You can't just make matchsticks without growing trees.
No, totally right. But we could spend another day talking
Absolutely.
about that.
Sorry,
of course. No. Of course.
A little tangent there, a little rant.
No, of course. That's why we're here. It's good to talk. So, no worries. So we touched on early gear and the hardware and some software that you used in those early days. So early Baffled production. So we touched on going on, and it was lovely just recap on that the other day. So it was lovely to talk about that. But what were the first? Was going on the first Baffled?
Yes.
Track you done?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Literally, I met G.
Yeah.
Then he came round and did a session in the front room of the house we were living in Putney, and out of that came the bleeps and the kind of the hook. And I believe when we did that the first time, it had the beats from Gusto, Disco's Revenge on it. we just circled that up.
You know what? I was actually looking at that vinyl today, and something said to me, "Bring it with me." And I got distracted and I left it. I should have just bought it. There was a reason for me to bring it. I don't even know why.
Well, no. I mean,
but I just want.
Dear Gusto, we did not sample your drums.
No. It was
on the release.
No, it was just one of them things. You know, when you see it subconsciously and you think, why am I looking at that? And why am I thinking to bring it with me? But I just carried on, trying to find what I need to bring for today.
Yeah, we sampled Matt Jam's drums on that, not.
But Disco's Revenge in itself is just...
it's a classic.
It's a classic, yeah. So the B-side, Dreams.
Okay.
That was the follow-up before it came as a package for Urban Beat? Or was that a little later? Did you just work on some other stuff?
No, I mean,
before?
we literally had that track, and I never liked that tune. Not going to
lie. Dreams?
Yeah.
Okay. What was the...
Is that a key?
Okay, I see.
You know where you don't know what you're doing?
Yeah.
And you make a tune, and it's out of key. That one's out of key. And there's something about it that jars me, and it's that. I've learned later on in life.
And now you said that, I understand why.
I don't want to spoil it for anybody who likes the tune.
No.
But it's not my favourite. I think that one there was more of just something, you know, when you look, we did Going On, we put so much energy and time. It took me months to edit into that. And we just needed something for the B-side. And they were like, what have you got? And we were like, well, I've got this. Okay. So we quickly mixed that down and banged that on there.
So how did you get it onto Urban Beat initially?
We just met Danny, who was running Urban Beat, and he was up for it. And, you know, we signed it to him.
Okay. That was the first
time we got ripped off. It wasn't, and not the last either. But no. You know, it's a story as old as time, isn't it? You come into it as green, you know, it's fine.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
And
that was the building blocks. That was the launch pad for what became Baffled. So
of course,
no hard feelings about it. It's all good.
No, and you spoke about your Eureka moment at Sun City, listening to or hearing Going On and realizing that you didn't make a track for a market, you were just making music and you're just witnessing what was going on with that. Was this around the time that you then started to make or produce Things Are Never, or was you making something else before that, or that had maybe not come out before? Or
so we did Going On, we did Over You. We made a couple of tracks. Obviously, we'd done Special with Dana and Jeremy Newell, Dana, Jeremy Newell, and Colour Girl. So we put a few bits out. I can't remember the exact timeline. It became a thing. So we did Going On, then we put out Over You. So the Baffled releases they had to be an event. They had to be a thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? You didn't want to just put out a Baffled tune, excuse me, without it being an event. So we spent a lot of time editing and creating and trying to make them as good as they could be and building up hype and, you know, giving dub plates out to people. And
okay.
So, yeah, once we got past Over You, I can't remember the timeline. I think we probably it went Going On, Over You, and then it was kind of like London Thing and all those bits. And then I think Things I Never may have come out after that. I can't remember the exact,
but it's around
the exact timeline.
Period, yeah.
So we were around all these people when we were having success and people were having success. And but in that time as well, we did quite a lot with the guys at Connected Records. So there was Ollie and JP. We were managed by them for a bit. So Ollie was with Zoo Productions, and he was managing a lot of DJs with them.
Okay.
And JP used to run Interstate Records.
Interstate Records, yeah.
Yeah, and he was the guy who put us in touch with like Warren Clark, and I think that's where we got hold of our first SP1200. I think the first time we got our hands on SP1200, it was DJ Disciples, and it was the one he kept in the UK, and it found its way into my studio.
Wow.
Yeah. I really didn't want to give that back.
No, I don't think he wanted that.
But we were a bit of a nightmare. We were kind of impossible to manage. If you can imagine such a thing. We were very stubborn, and we were kind of about what we were doing, and we were very focused on what we were doing musically. So we weren't particularly interested in what managers were trying to guide us.
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember in the last podcast, I spoke about not being guided by A&Rs and people like that. We were a bit independent, and we wanted to own the means of production and just do us.
Yeah.
Because obviously we knew best.
And that's how it made you feel. And that's
when I think when we moved away from them was when they took that SP1200, and that was a blow, man.
Oh,
yeah, because they are expensive.
Yeah,
as we found out.
Yeah,
we're like, let's buy one of them.
And I still think they hold their value.
I don't know what they're worth.
Yeah, they still hold its value.
They're more of a collector's item now than a serious piece of studio. Well, I don't know.
No, they do hold its value. I can't remember what they're worth now, but when I last checked, they hold its value. Like anything like the Rolling 808s, the 909s, they hold the originals, they still hold its value. I
think we had Frankie Fonsett's MPC 60 in the studio for a bit. We had, because I think we were managed by for a bit by Frankie and Frankie's manager.
Yes, and, Outlaw Records.
Yeah. And Frankie's manager. And then that, again, we were impossible to manage. So that drum machine left as well. And then somehow I managed to get my hands on a black MPC. Is it 3000? So the MPC 3000 was like the Akai S3000 sampler, but with an MPC. And they did a limited edition one, which was
the 3000.
Actually, I bought two at the same time. I went to the shop and bought two. I bought one for me and one for Francis James. Yeah.
Wow.
I think it was like, I just paid cash, $7,000, boom.
Just that.
It was a different time financially.
I could imagine it was a different.
You just walk out the shop with two black MPC 3000s, yeah.
But they didn't even offer you a discount.
Yeah, of course.
I was going to say
that was with the discount. They're like $5,000 each or something.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that was in like 1999. Great drum machines though.
Oh yeah. I've played with them before. Yeah, so I know what you're talking. Oh yeah, different times, man.
Yeah.
Oh. Right. So we will touch about some of the early Scott stuff because Scott mentioned that on the recent one of the recent episodes of the Unspoken Word Season 2.
I'm looking forward to hearing that.
Of course.
I like Scott. I get on really well with Scott. He's a good guy.
Yeah, and he picked you up as well. Talked about those early days. The early days. And that all comes together.
He's from South. I'm from South. We have an understanding, an unspoken understanding.
Of course, it's a South understanding.
South London thing.
Yeah, there you go. Boom. Right. So, if I may, I swear I must have everything's are never released.
Final time.
I know. We've got one. We got two. And I think there's a third one. There's three. So, I think it's a duplicate of the same, but we'll touch on that. Okay, so right. If I start backwards a little bit, and I know it's not on my sheet of questions to ask you, but I do want to ask about the Baffled Mario mix. Now, so it's the one that's got a bit like the speech and spell.
Okay.
Yeah, just talk me through.
That's a deep dive. I don't even remember what that one sounds like.
It's like things are
never.
Okay,
yeah. I remember.
That mix. It caught me. It threw me a little bit when I first heard that, and I thought I was searching, thinking I ain't got this one. Where's this one? I need to get it. And that's another one. I mean, with those other mixes, were they? Because you've obviously they re-put back out again with the Steve Gurley mix. Of course, you touched on the Steve Gurley one as well. Those additional mixes, were they done earlier on and then just you had them sort of part one side?
I think those mixes came about once the track got signed onto Locked On from Outlaw.
Okay.
So Locked On being a part of XL, being a part of Warner's or something.
Yeah.
They're obviously like, right, we need a vocal mix,
okay.
You know, and you're just like, right, okay, now we're in these waters now. Do you know what I mean? And they're like, and we need some other mixes. Funny story about that actually.
Oh.
So I believe they booked us into the Avex studio where we did the Philip Bailey track. So the Avex studio, massive, Soho Square, big SSL. Solid state logic, 128 channel desk, expensive reverbs, expensive Summit compressors and Uri compressors, and all of this amazing outboard and Focusrite, this, that, and the other.
Okay.
And I remember it was around Christmas, right? And us being us, it turned into the Baffled Christmas party, right? So they put us into this expensive studio to do this vocal mix. Not necessarily with the Mario mix.
Okay.
And it would appear that we got a bit over-infused with a drum and bass version of it, and we spent the majority of the time and money doing a drum and bass mix of Things I Never. So we've actually got an SSL mix, drum and bass mix of Things I Never somewhere on that they weren't overly impressed with that. And I think they then booked us into their studio, which was in Holloway or whatever, and we finally managed to push out a vocal mix. But yeah, the drum and bass mix is dynamically is fantastic.
Of course.
Yeah. So we did that with one of G's friends, Magic, was the in-house engineer at Renegade Hardware. So Renegade were based around the back of Coliseum in Vauxhall. Yeah. And they had a studio downstairs. And so Magic did this drum and bass mix for us. And so we were like, let's do some drum and bass in the SSL, you know what I mean? Why not?
Why not push it?
Yeah. So unfortunately, we came out of there after the Christmas party with a drum and bass mix and not a vocal mix.
Have you listened to it back?
Yeah, sounds all right.
Plans to pull it out?
No. Excuse me. Yeah, but yeah. To your point, the Mario mix was I think came out of those sessions as well. So we would have been rinsing out dub plates and stuff and messing about.
Wow. Yeah. Well,
and there you go.
There you go. So something that wasn't supposed to have come out of something else. So it happens sometimes.
Sometimes these things happen for a reason. No one remembers the full vocal mix of things I never.
No,
but then again, no one remembers the drum and bass mix.
So it's on this one, the I always say the green sleeve one of the vocal, but I prefer the Outlaw version. That would what I'd play. And talking of that, the dub mix on this as well. The dub mix on that really good as well. Doesn't get played as much, but I like the dub
of the original dub mix. Yeah. Of that. So if you listen to Over You. The dub mix of Over You, is like a filtered chord. So you run in you sample a chord and you mess about with it and you run a filter up so it goes whoosh, the kind of thing. So it's like that, and that became a bit of a theme signature. Or a sound or a signature for us. So and that theme, signature, sound, whatever is on that dub mix.
That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay.
So we had a few tricks that worked once and we would use them again. Which would be starting straight away with a vocal, like with the Philip Bailey, we would do that.
Okay.
And so there were certain things we knew, different ways of, because a standard, 12-inch mix, if you like, would start off with a 32-bar intro, and then you'd have a breakdown for 8 or 16 bars, and then you would have a build, and you'd kick in, and you'd run the track, and the vocal would kick in. Yeah. And there's a formulaic way of doing that, which is how DJs like it, because they can mix and know that you've got 32 bars to mix in.
Exactly.
Us being us, we would try and do things not that way.
But it still works.
Yeah. Well, if it works, it works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a bit difficult to fix a mix if you've got a vocal in it.
Yeah. It's true. Interesting you said that. That does, when you compare that to, and I can't think of the mix, you've named it for the Overview, but very similar. So that does make sense. So, that's something I've learned today. Yeah, thank you. No.
We would always try and the naming of mixes was always a thing with us. So we did a track called Unit 28. I Want Your Freedom, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and I swear we called that one the Crispy Duck Mix because we went to the Chinese.
There's a few Crispy Duck mixes you've got as well.
Well, we had a lot. We had a lot of Chinese food. we would name our mixes after all sorts of different things.
Oh God! Is there any? Well, was it? I haven't got everything of yours here, but there must be another one. That
so there was Michelle Weeks, Don't Give Up. We did a couple of mixes of that. I believe we did those with Warren Clark actually. So that would have been JP. Put us into Warren Clark's studio, probably got us the mix through Ministry, and we did, we did 2 mixes of it.
Yeah.
One of them has got Warren Clark's keys, which has got Rhodes and stuff on it, and then you got that one which came out, which is a bit more bassline, what kind of bassline. One of the mixes was called Midnight, and I believe that's the one that came out, and one of the mixes was called Sky, the Sky mix.
Okay.
So G's cat was called Midnight, my cat was called Sky. I was screwing that the Midnight Remix came out because my cat didn't get a shout. We had fun with it.
Yeah, Midnight and Sky. Yeah, there's a lot of. I can see the names now. Wow. Okay, different names for different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So how come that mix didn't eventually come out though? Was it just?
So, I mean, what we would. I suppose one of the good things about us and one of the bad things about us was we were never what the industry would perceive as being consistent. So if you got a Carl and Mac mix, you knew what you were getting. Yeah. If you get a Todd Edwards mix, you know what you're getting, right? Not so much with a Dream Team mix with Timmy. You wouldn't necessarily know what you're getting. Do you know what I mean? You know it'd have some soul, but it'd be more of a feeling than a formula. Yeah. Not that I'm putting those guys down. They do what they do amazingly well. But that wasn't us. And so people would... So we did, case in point, Lutricia McNeil, Stranded. Again, we're in the SSL studio for that. Dynamically, that's one of the mixes I'm most proud of. But we literally did 10 or 15 passes of live dubbing. You remember I said in the last podcast, we did a lot of takes. Yeah. And so we would do a lot of versions. It comes from that whole soundboy ethos of doing dub plates and just doing mixes and capturing a performance and the engineering being part of the creative process. Yeah. And also trying to make up for the fact that we probably didn't do as much work on the remix as we could have done and covering that up with effects and trying to punch stuff in and trying to add a bit of mad energy. But it works. I mean, it worked most of the time. But that Lutricia McNeil, so we would have presented the record company, which would have been a Sony or someone big, with a DAT, which would have had 15 mixes on it. Do you know what I mean? Wow. And just said, pick the one you like the most. Do you know what I mean? But they don't need that because they don't know what's a good UK garage record and what isn't. No. Do you know what I mean? So that in a way that was something that held us back as well as, but we were what we were.
Yeah. Wow. A lot of mixes.
A lot of mixes.
Not going to go into that. That might be a part 3. Just leave it there. Right. Before we move off the Baffle for a second, just want to touch on I Believe in You. No, I'm looking for names of dubs. That's bad, sorry. Right, and the reason
whatever you do, don't read what we write in the run-out grooves of the record.
No.
When you press a record, you can write a little. Write a little message in the run-out grooves. Yeah, start away from them.
No, I'm not gonna read through that one. That's
a family show.
Yeah, of course. The Dark Dog mix of I Believe in You. I like that mix as well. Very similar to what you spoke about with the Over You and Things Are Never. That would have been a tentpole release. Yeah, that was our follow up on Outlaw. Different sound, trying to have a different dynamic. Mix that down at Gavin Mills, DJ Face's studio. Him and Brian. Okay. Bit more of a brighter feel, bit more upbeat. Yeah. Not really. It starts off with a bit of a different drum beat as well. Wasn't really a 4/4 drum beat. It's more of almost like a very early kind of breakbeat or two-steppy approach. But we used to cut up beats. We used to enjoy cutting up beats and creating. G particularly was very hot on rhythm. He was very, very good with drums. Which makes it so unique between yourselves, how you have your input and how that works and collectively comes together, isn't it? What ideas were put down on those track bit. So
there's no point two people who bring the same energy and bring the same skill set in the studio. There's no point two of you being there. Yeah. And it's good that you're different. You bring different. You clash into two sounds. You clash into ideas. You argue about things. You be just somewhere in there. There's a little kernel of an idea that you can build on. Yeah. As long as you both enjoy doing it.
This is important. Yeah.
Yeah. As long as you have fun doing it, then that's where I'm not going to call it art, but that's where that comes from. That's where it comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of truth.
Yeah. Exactly. So, any idea for the dart? Who came with Dart Dog? Okay, say no more.
Yeah. Some of those memories, as discussed in the last podcast, are a little fuzzy.
Okay. That's all right. That's all right. What I should have asked you, I'm just going to go back a little bit. So how did you meet up with Nick, the keyboard?
Nick Rhodes?
Yeah.
Nick Rhodes, fabulous keyboard player. We were so lucky to come across, for our paths to cross. Initially met Nick when Dana brought him down to do the keys on specials.
Right, okay.
So that's where we met Nick. And again, you know, he was from like Barnet or something. He was just like this little skinny kind of lad from North London. But he really had the funk in him. Like he used to love listening to Maze and Earth, Wind and Fire and you know, unfortunately he did share a name with a man from Duran Duran. Well, you know, we can't.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same Nick Rhodes. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
But no, Nick was amazing. He played on Over You. He played on the Philip Bailey. He played on so many things that we did. He did the keys on JD Braithwaite, Feel My Desire. We did so many sessions with Nick. Again, you know, we all grew up listening to soul, and I think that's what or funk. We come through that. So that's where we all had a kind of common ground. But out of that, we were all looking for different things. You know, he was very, very funk soul. You know, I was a little bit more house, I suppose. Yeah. You know, and G kind of came up listening to all. You know, his parents were listening to what you would expect black parents to be listening to, you know, reggae and things like that. Yeah. So G, you know, we all brought something to the table. Yeah. And it was all, even though we had a shared foundation, if you like, it was all, after that it all got a bit. But it was interesting because nothing was off the table. Do you know what I mean? We could try anything. We could try a riff from any record. Like anyone could put an idea forward. You would try it. It's like, nah, that's rubbish, man. What are you doing? But you know,
but it's important you said that, because when you got the heads together, thinking together, like you got the disco, the soul, the reggae, the lovers rock. You've got soul. You've got all very similar music interests coming to one.
Yeah, but we're all also interested in different things. So, like, you know, he would come from that very soul boy influence. I would come from a bit more of a rock influence, perhaps. G would come from you know, he might have been a jungle thing or a drum and bass thing, and he'd have that in his head. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
But all very similar.
Yeah. Taste, so as long as you've got that shared foundation, beyond that, anything goes, right? As long as you all respect each other and you'll respect what you're bringing to the table. Yeah. And you can have fun doing it.
So you've the releases for Under Outlaw have all come out. Things Are Never, I Believe in You, all your stuff have come out at this point. So you're moving into a direction now where Speak and Spell, the actual track itself. So brief to chat about that project and what was the core inspiration behind that one.
Speak and Spell, right? Okay. Someone brought Speak and Spell into the studio.
Was it your idea?
It wasn't me that did it. I can't remember who brought it in, but we sampled it A, B, C, D, E, all the way to Z, and mapped them across the keyboard. And then once you've done that, you have to use it,
of course.
Yeah, but even the bleeps that do is the bleeps off the Speak and Spell. Right,
that's right. Yeah. Just have to think about that. Yeah.
So there's a do-do-do-do on that Speak and Spell, but you know that was one of those ones you would do as a dub plate. So that would have been done as a dub plate. Someone had probably annoyed us. Oh, and so our response to that would be not to beef with them, would be to draw upon them.
Yes, I know what you mean.
That you know what I mean. And that tune. That's one of my favourite Baffled tracks. I love that tune.
Really?
That's absolutely love that tune. I just think it's simple. It punches above its weight. It's got a great message. Live the life you love the life you live. Yeah?
Yeah.
And it smash up the dance. Do you know what I mean? I've seen that destroy a couple of rooms. Do you know what I mean? Which is great.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's there for. It's a bullet. It's one of those ones, you know, ain't necessarily going to get the girls dancing, but sometimes you want to be raucous, slap a wall.
Yep, and that's one of them.
Have that.
Yeah.
And also, I think with us, we would make tunes like that as a response to people. So if somebody... For everyone who create music, there are 10 people that are going to tell you why you're no good at it, right? Okay. And the number of times I heard from people, you'll never work in this industry again. You'll never do this. You're rubbish. You're not going to do this right. No. This is what happens. This is what the pressures that are applied to you when you are having some measure of success. And if you don't do what certain people want you to do, they will say these things to you. It's just words. Yeah. But sometimes you have to be like, bruv, have that. The best way to respond is with music. If somebody does that, you can say, right, you're never going to work again. Unfortunately, I just did. Do you know what I mean? Have that. Yeah. And I think that tune was I'm not going to name no names, but that tune was our response to a situation. Was probably our response to a situation such as that. Okay. I'm very affectionate about that tune as well. Okay. When my lovely wife Nadia was pregnant with my daughter Amelia, that tune came on and the baby started kicking. And I was like, I know that's my girl. I know that's my girl in there. Oh, man. That's when that bass line kicked in, it was like, boop, boop, boop.
Wow.
Yeah.
Massive shout out to Nadia as well. Yeah, you heard that first, man.
And Amelia.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, that's such a lovely story.
You know, from when my baby is in my wife's belly and kicking off to that, you know that tune draws, right?
Oh, straight through. Wow, that's that's.
So I think that's one of my favourite Baffled tunes.
Yeah, and was there any other other mixes that you've done that never came?
Not that one.
Not that one.
That's a dub play. That's a one-off.
One-off.
That's a one and done.
One and done.
Get in, say your thing, get out.
Right. So we move on. The Baffled Republic project. It's a personal thing for me. I love that project that you guys done, man. It's got heart, soul, funk, everything in it. Talk us through, first of all, just for the viewers so everyone knows, who was involved in the Banana Republic project initially?
The Baffled Republic project. So it's obviously Baffled and Banana Republic. Of course. It's a clash of two names together. I mean, we'd worked very extensively with DJ Face and Brian Farm. Baffled Republic, well-known Catch Records.
Of course.
Fantastic producers. Brian's an amazing jazz keyboard player. And we got on really well. You know, we got on really well with Face. We got on really well with Gavin. Brian. Gavin got really you know, everybody brought something different to the table. So the first track we did was Bad Boys Move in Silence.
There we go.
And the original track for that was me and Face. So we decided we would do a collab. And we did, we did that. Yeah, I'm a bit ashamed. Yeah, and it was just us having a bit of fun in his studio and coming up with a track. Sampled KRS-One on it, which is where the vocal hook comes from. Oh. And then there's a reggae track called White Mice by Talawa, which is where the why comes from.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then...
Okay.
The inspiration for the B line was Armand Van Helden. So the doom, 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 doom.
Right, yeah. Okay.
It was kind of spin, sugar. I'd been out raving. I heard it. I was like, whoa, this works. And it found its way onto that.
Right.
So that's the bones of that, really. Again, you've got filtered drum loops. You've got Face had a Kurzweil, so I could use that. I could program that. KRS-One was extremely unhappy with that record. It got playlisted on Kiss.
Right.
amazing.
Yeah, of course.
Got playlisted on Kiss, which was quite a big thing.
Of course.
We went on rotation on Kiss. Always liked a 10-inch as well because it kind of looks like a dub plate, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Everyone likes a 10-inch. Yeah, I think the original of London thing was a 10-inch, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't have that copy.
Do you not?
No, sadly, no.
If only you knew someone.
Steve Stretton, who we had on, believe, episode 6 on the season 1.
Don't you know the guy that produced it?
I do know the guy. I do, yeah. We could go down that avenue.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
So
we were forced to remix it. There was a 12-inch that came out. That had a different vocal. We had to change the vocal. So we did remixes of it. So there's a 12-inch of remixes of that, which has got a different vocal.
Okay.
Featuring a very famous UK garage DJ doing the vocals.
Spill the beans. Don't know.
It was Carl. Carl Brown.
Wow.
So Carl and Matt were working very extensively in Face's studio. So they did all of those amazing mixes up there. They did On Vogue and I believe they did Sprinkler and they did Rosie Gaines. They were on that.
Yeah.
And when we came to do the remixes, Carl was like, yeah. As far as I remember, allegedly, it was Carl. But yeah, I believe that was Carl on the vocals for that.
Wow.
So there's a fun fact.
They gave it again. The unspoken word. You heard it first. So yeah.
But yeah, so that was a great project. What came out of that was a whole raft of tracks. So we did that initially. Me and Face did that track, and a few people cut it, did dub plates, played it out, started to blow up a little bit. So me and G were messing about in my studio, and we sampled a track called Knee Deep by Funkadelic, or P-Funk, right?
Right, yeah.
Which is that the De La Soul kind of break.
Yeah.
And we filtered it. We did like a gusto thing with it. And then we did some crunchy drums and some bits and bobs with it. And we were like, wow, this sounds all right, you know. And that was the basis of the rest of that project. So that became the Back to the Funk EP that came out on Z Records.
Yes, that was going to touch on that, but
we made maybe 6 or 8 Baffled Republic tracks. So you got Sweetness on the flip of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Obviously that came out on Catch.
Yeah.
And then you had the Back to the Funk EP.
I love that EP, man.
There was a lot of fuss around that. Roger Sanchez tried to sign it. You know when you're having like conference calls with Roger Sanchez?
You told me, because I've never had one.
You're just like, Key, I'm just keep my mouth shut. I'm not gonna. But yeah, so him and Joey Negro got into a thing with it, and we ended up giving it to Z Records with Joey Negro. But that was the one where Trouble had got hold of this DAT. So there was a DAT of those 7 or 8 tracks that was floating around. I believe Jeremy Newell at Release the Groove had it. On that, he played them to Trouble. Trouble's like, give those to me,
because that's how I first heard.
So he didn't ask
project.
us. He didn't ask us.
I would just.
He didn't ask us. He phoned us up and said, "I've given that to Trouble. Trouble is going to cut them." Do you know what I mean? To which we're like, "Wow, okay, fantastic."
Yeah.
You know, Trouble was. You know, he's like your spirit animal, isn't he? If Trouble wants to play your music, wow, that's like that for us was one of those Taproot moments that was meaningful. If Trouble chooses to play your music,
you know
you've done something right for once in your life. Do you know what I mean? and he did, and bless him, you know, he had this massive show on Kiss. I spoke about it in the last podcast.
Of course you
did. He had this massive show on Kiss, and for like 4 weeks he played them as the first 6 tunes, and he was such a tastemaker back then, and he did it for no other reason than he got hold of them, and he loved them, and he wanted to batter them. He didn't know us, and we didn't know him. We came to know him.
Yeah.
He was very troublesome.
I
love that guy, man.
Yeah,
what an amazing guy. What an amazing DJ. You know, if ever there was a DJ where the music comes from the heart and he just puts his heart in the speakers and you're listening to a piece of him. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You know, you can just close your eyes and feel his soul when he played. Yeah. You know, there were very few DJs like that. Trouble was one of those people. So for him to choose our music and to champion our music, especially at the time, there was a lot of snobbery around proper garage and UK garage. Proper US garage. Yeah, proper. Yeah, and
the term house and garage.
Yeah, garage people did not like UK garage. There was a lot of snobbery around that, and so for Trouble to champion our sound, it shook a lot of people's trees. You know what I mean? It really did get a lot of people's attention.
Okay.
And he didn't care. He didn't care, and I loved him for that.
Yeah. It's a shame that it eventually it sort of went that direction from what you're saying, like that snobbery. What music's music.
No, it started like that, and it was people like Trouble and Frankie Fonsett coming in from Ministry, and those large house and garage DJs getting into it and saying, actually, there's something here.
Yes.
Yeah. And you know, it takes, and not doing it because it was a bit successful and they were jumping on a bandwagon. They did it because it fitted with their style. They could put that into their sets.
Yeah.
And for us, that was an amazing thing, because you don't want to be pigeonholed. We never made music for a market. To be able to appeal to two different markets, you know, it's manna from heaven, right?
This is it. I think that's probably where I was going with that. It just as a whole, music is music. Yeah. Why we shouldn't be pigeonholing anything? You just make music. That's what it should be. So
but that Baffled Republic stuff, I'm proud of that project. It's a great project. And yeah, that Knee Deep was kind of the, well, first of all, me and DJ Face did Bad Boys Moving Silence, and that was the kind of genesis of us collaborating and then bringing G and Brian into it. Together. Just solidified that and just made it into a whole, you know, and it was great fun. We had a great time doing it.
Yeah. And just touching back on the Back to the Funk EP, when I was discovering Paul and some of those lost tapes or tapes that I hadn't heard before, that EP was the one I heard that Paul was playing, and I was searching, like, where can I find this? And it was a really good friend of mine, Melvin, shouts to him, Powder Soul. He was the one was like, yeah, you need to get that EP.
Thank you, Melvin.
There you go. So that was important to me, to just know what that was, because there was no internet at the time. So a lot of it was you haven't, unless you knew what the track IDs were.
You hear it on tape packs or you hear it on the radio. And that was what was so important about someone like Trouble. He was a tastemaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of these more snobby type house and garage people, he was their guy. And so for him to do that really upturned the apple cart and kind of upset a lot of people. But that was why he was called Trouble.
No other reason.
Because he was, as discussed, troublesome.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, we got into some scrapes with that guy.
Yeah.
Moving
along. God bless his soul, of course. Bless him. He's not with us. Philip Bailey, Stepping Through Time. We briefly touched on it on our last podcast. Obviously, you've worked on you talked about what a big name he was and still is. Yep. But tell us a bit more about the experience and about first of all doing the remix, and were there any pressure working on a legend track?
We were very, very lucky with that track. So with some remixes, you just get given, you know, a scratchy vocal of some ex-model singing out of tune, and you got to make something out of that. I believe the vocals and the music and the original version of that track was recorded by Bluey from Incognito.
Yes.
And so we had access to trumpet parts, and we had access to, so there are other mixes of that.
Yeah.
We did about 10 mixes of that, and we couldn't stop doing mixes of it because we were we had an open remit. We were doing it for Avex.
Yeah.
For a subsidiary label for Avex with Steve Wren. Big up Steve Wren. And so you're given an amazing studio, you know, Mission Control, Houston, enormous board, every piece of outboard that you could wish for, you know, an open check to hire stuff in from FX Rental or whoever. You know, if you want a copycat tape delay, you just like, cool, so bring it in a van. Do you know what I mean? So you could just order stuff. You could order food and effects. Yeah, it was like a Deliveroo for studio kit. So yeah, we did that. Yeah, and so they were just like, keep doing it, and we kept doing it, and yeah, it was an amazing experience. And so, some of the work I'm most proud of are the dubs of that. So there's a double pack white label floating about of that.
Yeah, I'm looking. I need a copy of that.
Yeah, no, I haven't got a copy of that. Yeah, and that's got all these unreleased. I think there's probably a Speak and Spell mix on there. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure. I think. Don't quote me, guys. Put it in the comments because you're going to shoot me. I'm not going to get into that one. No, because I have a Speak and Spell mix of that somewhere.
Okay.
How can you have Philip Bailey and not do a BAFF-LED on it somewhere?
Well, this is it. There you go.
What's the point? What's the point if you don't do that?
No, there is a particular mix. I stumbled across a good few years back, which I didn't know was on this double pack. Doing a bit of investigation, of course. That's what I do. And I come across, there was a guest mix that yourself and G done on Bobby and Steve's show.
Yep.
Early 98.
Yep.
And it was on that show I come to discover this other mix. And I'm like, where the hell's this mix? Did it come out? Did it not come out? And then when G, I believe, said it was coming out soon, double pack, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's on this double pack. But I can't get the double pack. So it's that mix.
But is it on the double pack?
It is.
Because that would have been a dub plate.
No, that would have been on the 100%. Okay. It's on the. I've done some work on that, and it is on the double pack.
Okay.
So I just need a copy of it. So yeah.
Somewhere, I've got a date of that. Don't know where. The lost tapes.
That, yeah, I mean, so polished. All the mixes, from what I've heard anyway, it's just...
We were very lucky with that. So we worked with Warren Clark on some of the mixes. I believe the Zinger mix was Warren Clark, possibly.
Another mix. Woo.
Yeah. So I think that mix, again, we had a KFC.
Don't make me laugh, man.
Sorry. I believe the Zinger mix was with Warren Clark.
Of course.
The other main mixes were slightly distorted out of his studio, so that's what got us into Avex's studio. Okay. And we worked with an amazing engineer there called Alan Maudsley, I believe, and he went on to record to engineer for us in other places doing other things. So he engineered a JB Braithwaite remix for us. And I think I did quite a lot of work with Francis James, and I believe Alan did some of the engineering on that.
Okay.
We had Nick Rhodes on those sessions as well.
Yes, I do believe on those
with Francis.
Yeah.
I think we did those at Dominic's Spreadlove studio.
Okay.
Anyway, going off on a tangent.
No. Just remember actually. I even just remember hearing it for the first time, and it was those days where you play it too loud and your mum comes upstairs and swings open that door and tells you to turn the music down because the beeline's going through the house. Yeah, it was one of those tracks. Touch here.
We were very, very lucky. Yeah. You know, this is around the time that Steve Jackson was doing the breakfast show on Kiss FM. You know, he had a reach out of the whole of London, and he would be playing the Philip Bailey on the Kiss FM breakfast show. And you know, breakfast shows aren't such a thing now. People have Apple CarPlay, they play their own music, don't necessarily listen to it. But back then, big flipping deal. Do you know what I mean? And Steve Jackson was very good to us. You know, I think we guested on his morning show a couple of times.
Really?
Yeah. It was funny. I remember I was driving down to pick my mum up from Gatwick once, and I was rushing. I was late, and it was a nightmare. And I was driving through South London on my way to Thing, and I was listening to the radio to Kiss, and it said, and tomorrow morning on Steve Jackson, we have Baffled. And it's like no one had told me, No one had told me. The first I heard that we were on Steve Jackson was driving to the airport with my mum up.
Wow.
I mean, I had a pager back then, right? You know,
I had a pager. Yeah.
I was a big man in the game. Yeah. The funny thing was this pager used to vibrate, and I used to have it on silent. Yeah, it had a little message.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
your little pixelated display thing. And I kept losing this flipping pager right down the back of the sofa and everything. And you know, like it'd be bothering you. Yeah. And you wouldn't know what it was for days and days and days, and then eventually I would find it, and it would be the flipping pager. You know what I mean? But yeah, those pagers were a thing. But so the first time I heard I was on Steve Jackson was driving.
So you were paged as well?
If I'd had it with me, if it wasn't dropped down the back of the sofa, I don't know.
Fly me. So
we had this stuff. We never used it. I mean, you know.
So you're driving and you're hearing that you're going to be on Kiss the next day. I mean, how did it make you feel?
Do you know what? Life was so crazy back then. This was just another day.
Yeah.
I know it sounds flippant, but strange things were happening all the time. And I was more annoyed that no one had told me.
More than so that you're going to be...
Well, I mean, I was late to pick my mum up from the airport,
and
again, she was probably paging me as well. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, that was a funny day.
I bet indeed. But look, you get to go on, and it's interesting you say that because on our previous episode of the Unspoken Word, Daniel Wall talked. There was a question I asked him about how important it was. Steve Jackson playing a lot of the sort of early house or garage, or termed it at the time, and he mentioned that how, you know, he was really happy and very supportive of what you guys were making, and really supporting what we at the time.
Steve Jackson was a massively important figure in the London scene at the time. He wasn't just a radio DJ, you know, he had Street Boy, and he had this whole thing going on where they were doing mainstream radio stuff, but in a dance music kind of format, and so it crossed over boundaries and people were engaged with it, and you know, they'd have phone-ins and prizes, and you know what I mean, it was like mainstream radio, but dance music radio as well, and it was all part of that picture. It was all part of that support we were so lucky to receive.
Steve Jackson, who knows, maybe
that would be an interesting story.
Oh, it would be indeed. Right, meeting Scott. So Scott, on a few of our episodes before on the season 2, the Unspoken Word, he talked about how you guys met. Record shop. Like, quote me if I'm wrong. Is that where you guys?
No. I met Scott through G. I think they were playing at the SC1 club together. I don't know what the club night was.
Okay.
I believe it's something to do with Quench Records.
Okay.
But yeah, so G knew Scott from the SC1 club in Victoria.
Okay. SW1 Victoria.
Sorry.
Yes, that's all right. Yeah, that's all right. So
whatever.
Yeah, I know you meant
Victoria is in SW1. Yes.
Yeah,
I should know that, being a transport manager.
It's all right.
Now.
That's all right. No, because you said that, because I know there was an SC1 club as well. So anyway, we know what we're talking about. Yeah. So that's where you met Scott.
So he came down, wanted to make tunes, interesting guy.
Yeah.
You know, and we made some good stuff together.
Indeed. And there's just a few projects that I know you engineered, collaborated, whatnot with Scott. I'm just going to go through a few just to touch on, in no particular order. So, Music Takes You. Is that something you collaborated or worked with?
Yeah, that rings a bell.
Yeah. Talk us through some of those sessions, if you remember.
So we were, around that time, you know, we felt like we couldn't do nothing wrong. Like, we would knock up beats and we would do polished productions and they would go well. And then we would do, you know, more dubby things and they'd sell 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 copies, you know. And most of these would be for £2 each.
Yeah.
So, you know, £2-3 each. And so you would be, you know, and it would cost you like 50p to make. So you're making £1.50 a unit times, you know, you're doing all right.
Yeah.
You're doing all right. Do a couple of remixes a month, do 1 or 2 of them a month. You know, you are buying MPC 3000s, black ones. 2 off.
Yeah, 2 off, yeah. Discount, of course.
For cash.
Yeah, cash.
No, but you see where this goes.
Oh, I see where it's going, yeah. Yeah.
It was not a cash business. I think statute of limitations ran out on that one. But yeah, so, you know, you would have stuff, you would do the big tentpole kind of event, kind of Baffled things, and then you would do studio sessions and you'd rinse out tracks, and some would be dub plates and some would be this and so you know, like Speak and Spell or A Music Takes Me would be more one of those, you know, made in a day or two kind of tracks.
Oh, wow. Like that, yeah?
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that track.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there was a couple of earlier versions of that before the one that actually did come out. I know there was, two different versions of it, but there was the obvious one, the more noticeable, should I say, version that tears down the dance every time, man. The B line on that is just horrible.
Scott and Ray Hurley, Dub Monsters, they had a real thing. Like they had a real thing going on. Like Scott and Ray, with a little bit of flavour from my studio, you know, they had a nice chemistry. They knew what they wanted to do,
what they were
and they went out there and they caused trouble with it. I loved it.
Yeah, no, that's really good, man.
Yeah, they're brilliant, them too.
Yeah. And what about the other? So Into the Darkness, another one. Yeah, so there were some other projects that Scott had worked on as well, like Into the Darkness, Feelings, and It's a London Thing.
Yeah, well.
Now, Waiting. We've spoke about a London Thing before. Waiting. Talk me through what was so important. What made that track so unique?
I think that's just the energy in it. I think that one there. So sometimes you would come to the studio and you would have an idea of what you wanted to do. So Scott, for a London Thing, you know, he wanted to make a track called A London Thing or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Or him and Styles. I'm not getting involved in that side of it, but yeah, they came to the studio with a clear idea of what they wanted to achieve. Waiting would be more one of those ones where you just come into the studio and you mess about.
Okay.
And you know, sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. And you know, on that day it worked.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But I love the energy in that track.
From start to finish. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the intro, the build up, the way it drops, the vocals.
That's a live take. That's us punching stuff in and out. That's muting stuff in and out on a. So it's an MPC loop, and with so we're running that to MIDI clock as an 8-bar or a 16-bar or whatever, and you know we've got sequence stuff on Cubase. So and then we're punching stuff in and out and rolling effects in and out, you know, on the Mackie desk.
And you mentioned about the marimba.
The marimba is off the D110.
Yeah, for that as well. Yeah, Waiting. Yeah, it's a personal, this one. Played it not long ago on the little the Halloween Spooktacular. That went off.
The older I get, the more I appreciate those tracks above all the others. So the Speak and Spells, the Waitings, you know, those are the ones I like the most because they're the most honest.
Yeah.
They just come out of you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They just fall out onto the dat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It happens that way.
Yeah, it's great when that happens.
Yeah.
Those are the best times.
Yeah.
Because it's really, really honest.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you put them out and there's a couple little mistakes in them.
It is what it is, man. Right, before we touch on Kerry Evans, I want to go back. Talk us through how your involvement with Donna D.
So Donna D, she was living in Wandsworth, so I had my studio on Garrett Lane, and she lived down more towards Wimbledon Dog Track down by Burntwood Lane.
Okay.
So we could walk there in 15, 20 minutes. We were local producers, do you know what I mean? She, Donna's achievements in the business have always, I felt, been underestimated. Whatever anybody said, UK Garage was a man's world. And Donna knew her own mind, you know, and I've always respected that. I like people that knew their own minds, knew what they wanted to do, knew what they wanted to make. I suppose her first big success was Your Love.
Yes.
Was it Your Love?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, great track.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Cartoon samples, just little two-step, just very simple, very honest, like we were saying. You know, she did a lot of tracks on Confetti, as Lady Penelope, and then, you know, she, you need to get her on, talk to her. But I believe she was signed to some big label.
Okay.
But the A&R there was Renee from Black Market, believe it or not.
Okay.
So Renee used to run Black Market. I worked there for a bit.
Okay.
Of course I did. Yeah. And so I knew Renee. And Renee was like, here's some money, make an album. Yeah. So she bought some equipment, some more equipment. And she had the creative space to, you know, she was given the greatest opportunity, which is, here's some money, make your music. Okay. So you don't have to do what anyone tells you. It wasn't really managing what she did. He didn't A&R that. He saw the potential in her. Okay. And then, you know, and I think he was correct in that. And she made an album, and I mean that's really, really difficult. Just making an album as a solo artist is incredibly difficult. Yeah. Putting together something coherent where you can put together 8-10 tracks and it's coherent, and they're not all the same, is extremely difficult. And just the creativity involved in that, and as well at the same time you've got all this sexism to put up with, and you've got all of this. You know, let's not beat around the bush. There's a lot of villains involved in UK garage back in the day. Yeah. You know, and there's all of this stuff around you, people trying to intimidate you, and all of this negative energy. And through all of that, you know, Donna made an amazing album. Yeah. And I wouldn't say I produced it. She produced it. Yeah. But yeah, I was involved in a couple of free tracks on there. Okay. Clock the Dough was one. Oh man. I think Hooked. I can't remember all the others, but for me, you know, Clock the Dough was a standout. Yeah. Here We Go, Blah. Yeah. So
there was Bewitched.
I don't know if that was me. I don't know. You know,
I think there was some. I think that was one as well. But
I think with either Clock the Dough or Here We Go, Blah. I remember her coming in the studio, and she was down with all these like trip hop people, and she, like broken beat people and stuff. So she went. She'd been to somewhere like Bagley's, and she'd been one of these nights, and I think she'd had one of those eureka moments. Okay. And she came back and she said, "I have got an idea for a track. Okay. I'm going to merge these two things, right? And you know, I'm going to merge breakbeat and I'm going to merge UK garage." And I was like, "Whatever, of course you are." Do you know what I mean? And you know what? She flipping did it. I'm sure it was either Clock the Dough or Here We Go, Blah. And she came in from Bagley's and she said, "I want to make this track." And you know, and she made a really good, seminal, well-known, still remembered 30 years later track. And not only that, managed to fit it on an album and got paid for it before she made it.
Well, that's credit to her. Yeah.
I'm so proud of her.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a win.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, Donna was great. I really enjoyed working with Donna. Yeah. I saw her not so long ago. A Mole Jam thing in
Hammersmith.
In Hammersmith, yeah. And she's still the same, Donna. Love to see it.
Hopefully we might be able to get her on the Unspoken Word. Who knows?
I mean, there's a story worth listening to. And there's not only that, you know, they threw a bit of money at promoting her as well. Okay. You know, she was in ID magazine and she was making her own. Do you know what I mean? And the achievement of that as a solo female in that world in the 90s was not the same as it is today. We don't have
absolutely.
We don't have the same approach. There was not the same approach back then to equity and equality and all the Me Too stuff. So, you know, it was incredibly hard for a solo female artist. And not only that, you know, she could draw as a DJ as well. She could have it. Do you know what I mean? She would have it with anybody. So, you know, she was the full package, mate.
Yeah. Especially when you can make music as well on top of that.
Yeah. Not only that, she can play guitar and she's a multi-instrumentalist. Yeah. You need to get her on. Talk to her, not me.
On that one, yeah, definitely. Bless. But just that experience alone, that was lovely to share. That
yeah. But I mean, you know, she's... I hope I got it right, Donna. It was a long time ago, mate.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, nothing but respect.
Love it. Thank you for that. So, is this real? Sunship, how did the project come about with Kerry Evans?
Yeah, so Sunship, is this real? So, mutual friend of somebody, of my mate Wale, I went to college with Wale and someone called Sean Evans.
Okay.
Who turns out, and Sean's, so Wale said, oh, Sean's brother's into music. Like, do you want to go around there and make some tunes and that? And we're like, okay. Apparently he used to be the keyboard player in a Brand New Heavies or something, right? So we were like, okay, interested.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Went around there, Kerry Evans from Sunship. He's making an album. He's had some finance. He's making an album as well. So Kerry's a bit more versed in how the music business works, and and not only that, he's incredibly talented. The guy's a fantastic keyboard player. He's had he's had success prior to. He's known for Flowers, isn't it? But he's done much more than that. Did he do that Cafe Del Mar track? I think he did. Anyway, that Face did Hypnosis. Kerry did Cafe. I'm sure it was Cafe Del Mar.
Don't quote me, but I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. But, so anyway, we went around. I think his house was in Acton or Chiswick or something. We're literally in his front room. He's like, I've got some vocals. Yeah, I've recorded Robert Owens.
Okay.
And we're like, you've done what? And he's like, I've recorded Robert Owens. Now, you have to understand, one of the very, very first house things that I got obsessed with, was an album, a double album called Another Side by Fingers Inc., which was Larry Heard and Robert Owens.
Okay. Yeah.
Fantastic. They did Can You Feel It and all of those stuff. Mr. Fingers and Fingers
right.
Inc. And, But Robert Owens was vocalist on all that stuff. He did some amazing tracks on there. Feeling Sleazy and all of this. I bought that off Jazzy M, actually, which we spoke about in the last podcast.
Of course.
So Jazzy M was always there. And he sold me this double album, Another Side. If anybody needs to hear where all of this came from, listen to the double album, Another Side by Fingers Inc. or Mr. Fingers or whatever it is. Yeah. Fantastic work. So everybody knows Robert Owens for I'll Be Your Friend. Yeah. And probably for, I think he did the vocals on Diamond Rings as well by D&D. I think they say that was Robert Owens' sample. Anyway, I digress.
I know. No,
it was.
Yeah, one of the songs. Yeah,
it was.
Yeah,
Donnie. That was Robert Owens.
Donnie. Yeah.
Anyway, so Kerry said to us, "I've got some vocals. I've recorded Robert Owens." All of that stuff I just spoke about went through my mind in about 10 seconds. I'm like, right, we're working with you. Yeah. It turns out that Kerry is actually a really, really good keyboard player. Like, absolutely no messing. That guy is top tier. Yeah. You don't get to be a keyboard player in something like the Brand New Heavies by being rubbish.
Yeah. Well,
and he's about as far from, so where we are musically is, we're like babies. And he's up there. He's like old father time. Yeah, he's really up there. He can do it. He can play a session for anybody. It's been my absolute pleasure to work with some fantastic people. I've been so blessed to be able to do that. Yeah. And Kerry was definitely one of them. Okay. So G's like, I've been listening to this track. Funnily enough, another Kerry Chandler. So there's a track called Rain by Kerry Chandler.
Yeah, of course.
Which has this kind of organ sound at the beginning. Do, 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 do. Yeah. You listen to Is This Real by Sunship.
Very
it sounds a little bit like that. But we didn't sample it. We took that as an inspiration. And Kerry took that and he ran with it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we just worked with Kerry and and we made that tune. I mean, and we were lucky enough that was the title track on his album.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is it all makes sense now.
Yeah. But it's funny, from turning out to be someone you went to college with, brother.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be this amazing kind of guy who was just uber talented and had one of the biggest garage records ever made.
Yeah.
To the point where everyone hates it because everybody knows it. My 13-year-old daughter, who grew up, who was in my wife's belly, kicking out Speak and Spell, knows Flowers by Sweet Female Attitude, right? Yeah, everyone knows it. Yeah. You know, that is worldwide hit. Yeah. And more power to his elbow. Yeah, that guy's got skills, man. Having worked with him, it blew me away. You know what I mean? Yeah. So everyone knows him for Check 1, 2 and these other stuff, but that guy musically
you've seen,
yeah. And so, you know, and we were all soul boys, and we had time for that, you know. Yeah. And so that was that's the story of Is This Real?
That's something new today on that one for sure. And that was great.
And if anyone gets the opportunity, listen to Kerry Chandler, The Rain. It's one of my favourite tracks of all time.
Okay, well, of course, the link will be in the description as well. So if you want to check that out, you can.
In the description below.
There we go. We're just going to move forward a little bit on this one. Okay, so remixing, of course, you mentioned about JD.
JD Braithwaite.
Yep. And the Latricia McNeil.
Yep.
What did you enjoy most about composing those look at my words right, those remixes? And was it adding in like things like adding a new beat, a twist the vocals, or just completely just sort of just reimagining it?
So the JD Braithwaite was a funny one. So JD Braithwaite is one of those quintessential British soulmen. He was in a group called Total Contrast.
That's right.
Guy can sing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had a studio just behind the London Hospital somewhere, and it was in the same set of units as Warren Clark's studio, and I think we kind of got introduced to him through, I would imagine, JP from Interstate. So I think that probably came out on Connected Records. So the two guys on the Connected Records label is Ollie and JP.
That's right.
So I think that came out on Connected. That would make sense. That was a crazy studio unit. The corridors were like a cruise liner, and all the doors had portholes in them. and when we first went to Warren's studio, it was done like a swimming pool. So it was all blue, and there was like stairs going up into the ceiling. It was like you're in the bottom of it. It was crazy, and they had the window into the live room had fish in it, and kind of set into like a resin. It was a crazy creative space. Anyway, I digress. So JD Braithwaite was based there. G had done this drum fill, kind of went dum dum bum ba dum bum, right?
Okay.
And he'd actually programmed it using preset sounds in the Kurzweil. He was just messing about, and he'd done this drum fill that's on that track.
Yeah.
And there's a Richard Pryor thing about a lady falling down the stairs. The skit that he does.
Of course.
Yeah. I'm not gonna use his exact terminology, but we called that fill oh no, the lady has fallen down the stairs again, right? Because it could go boom, boom, boom. So it was this like, we called it the Richard Pryor fill.
Okay.
And we just had it sitting about, and we'd sampled it, and we'd messed about with it. And then we got these vocals off of JD. We got Nick Rhodes in to do the keys on it.
Okay.
Come up with a killer B line. It's like real G smooth stuff. That is a proper G smooth B line.
Okay.
Nick did some amazing keys. You know, you got JD soaring vocals coming over the top of it, and then you got this crazy drum fill. Boom, 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 boom. You know, it was, and it was just one of those ones which works. You know, I think Alan Maudsley, who engineered the Philip Bailey, I believe he engineered that.
Okay. In
JD Braithwaite's studio, but it was just one of those ones. It worked, and we, you know, and I'm proud of that mix. I like that mix a lot.
Yeah. What about the Stranded projects?
Stranded was a remix.
Yeah, the remix project.
Yeah, that would be one of those ones where we do a 24-hour lockout at the AVEX studio and do 15 different passes of it, and one of them would work. But if you listen to that sonically,
Yeah.
you can hear it's not an amateur production. Like you can hear the money and in the dynamics. If you listen to that, it glistens. You can hear the 20 grand reverb. And you can hear all of the expensive Uri Summit Focusrite nonsense. They had Pro Tools and all this other crap. You can hear that.
Yeah.
In that mix. I don't know that the record company heard it necessarily, but I can hear it.
You can hear it. And that's what matters, right? That's what matters. You know? So,
They didn't love that mix.
Some great remixes you've done. Is there any of those remixes that stand out that you think, out of all the ones you've done, like ones you think, yeah, that was my favourite?
I don't know about favourite. It comes and it goes, doesn't it? You know, some days I like this one, some days I like that one. I was listening to one we did the other day, funny enough, for JP. Green Trousers.
Oh, yeah? Yes.
Wow. And we did that mix just for a bit of fun. And again, I think we did that with Warren Clark.
Okay.
I think we did that for JP. You know, it was kind of like an organ bass line thing. And we were just messing about, you know, they gave us some vocals, we did it. I don't even know why it was called Green Trousers. Do you know what I mean? I was like, I'll take somebody, I want somebody. It was nothing, I have no clue why it was called Green Trousers. That was not, I don't think that was a creative decision to do with us. Or I would have an anecdote for that.
Yeah.
However, fuzzy memories.
Yeah.
So that was, I believe the first time I heard that out, was it the EC1 club that was in Farringdon?
Not far.
So there was a
EC1
club right on Farringdon by Farringdon Station on the road there called EC1 and there was a show at the time called Gladiators that was on the telly. And Shadow from Gladiators was one of the bouncers there. But anyway.
Yes.
And I swear the first time I heard that track was in that club, someone played it. It must have been Scott or someone, just give him a white label. Yeah. And I think it was that night. And then they showed the Tyson fight where he bit the guy's ear off.
Oh, so that night?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's my memory of that. But yeah, that came into my mind the other day. I don't know. I was just thinking about it and thinking about that remix. So that today, that's my favourite remix.
That's your favourite remix
because Tyson bit someone's ear off, and I was looking at Shadow from Gladiators. Messages from the world of random.
Let me think about that. No, that's come back to me. That's Evander Holyfield.
Yeah.
So that would have been, was that the first or second fight? Must have been the first.
I don't remember.
No, I'm trying to think now.
Yeah.
I think that might have been the second fight. Could be wrong. But yeah, it would have been.
Not a boxing podcast.
No. Of course, it's in the air and all that.
Yeah.
So that was Tyson.
That was Tyson. Green Trousers.
You get me. Right. Before we bring the podcast to an end, just want to get your thoughts about the UK garage scene and why it had a significant shift in the early noughties to you. Why do you think the shift in the scene happened?
What, when it moved into sort of more grime, you mean? And yeah, I just think a different generation came through. I think UK garage was melodic and it was musical and it was from the streets, but that generation of people grew up listening to soul. The next generation that grew up listening to drum and bass and jungle and stuff like that, and they were a bit more hard hitting. They were a bit more about MCs. So when MCs first started in garage, they were your friend for the night. The DJs would change, but you would have Creed for the whole evening. And it wasn't really, and they'd have occasional 16, but it'd be more about going with the flow and flowing through the evening. Whereas that then became, the MCs became more important. The music became less important. It was more about a rhythm than about, you know, a musical journey. It was more about what the MCs were doing. So I just think it just changed. It just changed into something else. Yeah. I mean, I was involved in that because I worked with the So Solid crew. And I was kind of getting the ump with garage anyway.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because I just saw it run. It got really boring. It got really formulaic. Do you know what I mean? You got. It's just, you know, it's seeping into US R&B and stuff, and they would take that whole kind of Artful Dodger thing where it half times and then double times and then back to half time kind of thing, and then that became like a standard thing in Europe. It just became. I'm not saying Artful Dodger were that because they weren't. They were very good.
Yeah.
and they brought something fresh and Craig David and all that stuff, you know, fantastic stuff. But to me, that wasn't really me. I was always a bit more, I think I said in the last podcast, you know, I'm more of a dark, sweaty room, slap at the walls kind of guy. So I probably got more in common with a grime party than I have with an R&B party. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that you can't slap a wall at an R&B party, but it's not really that thing. You know. So yeah, and I was happy to work with a So Solid crew. You know, I was very lucky. We did tracks like Oh No and I can't remember all the tracks I did with So Solid, but
Oh No's got soul in it. You can hear that. When you hear how melodically it comes across, the production, you can tell that's got soul in that. It's
yeah, that was them, not me.
Yeah, but as a whole, the idea, the process, how it's all put together.
Yeah. But so the two are not mutually exclusive. You can have a rhythm and it can have soul.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Things like the Speak and Spell, that's a rhythm, man. That's not a musical journey. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
That's a have that.
Do
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have that, hold that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? See you later.
Yeah.
It's one of them ones. Get in, get out. Do you know what I mean? Get in, say your thing, get out. Yeah. And that's the same, and that's that kind of ethos with MCing, isn't it? It's a competitive thing. That was the whole thing about 21 seconds. You know, they all had their little slot of 21 seconds
each. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and that was that whole ethos for that. So more power to their elbows, man.
Yeah.
I'm not having that. And you know, I did that track Last Man Standing, and that was people think of that as a grime record. That's like a grime rhythm for a lot of people.
I personally wouldn't call it grime.
No, but you know, but you're looking at it from that side.
Yeah.
If you're looking at it from that side,
They
it's
would
grime.
look, yeah.
To me, it's electro.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm looking at it from the other side. It's a three-sided prism.
Yeah. Yes.
Like that. You know what I mean? And you know, different colours are shooting out every side. I've got to stretch that analogy. But yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that Last Man Standing, you know, that was me having the ump with Garage. I didn't want to be the last man standing. Do you know what I mean? And I had taken inspiration from those young guys coming into my studio, just wanting to make rhythms, just wanting to hear that, have their voices heard. They had something creative to say.
Yeah.
And they'd never been valued to that point. They'd been in prison, they'd done this, they'd done that. They'd never been valued. They never would have thought they could make that stuff. Yeah. And apparently they could. And not only that, they could be the biggest UK garage or whatever act the UK had ever seen.
Yeah, and look what they've gone on to do.
Exactly that.
Exactly
that. You know, you would not. Well, I don't know. You might. You know, Ashley Walters and all of those guys came out of that whole belief that they had in themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, they've done amazing, and they've spawned a whole nother generation of people that can believe in themselves as well.
And what you just said there is important because they were part of that journey for me that really took on where I wanted to go with the DJ, and it gave me a belief, actually, these guys are doing something, I could do this. So for me, it's important. I'm glad you said that because that touched me at that time to give me that to do what I'm even still doing today. Yeah, and this is it. Yeah.
So. Why you pursue your dreams, follow, you know, if that's your journey, if you're persistent and you're good, and you know, do what you feel to do.
Yeah.
You're only going to find out that you're no good at it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But without trying, how are you ever going to know?
Exactly that. Right, just before we bring the podcast towards an end, any chance of you getting back in the studio one day?
0.
I thought you'd say that. Thought I'd ask the question.
I've said everything I have to say. I've been incredibly blessed to have the small amount of success that I've had. Yeah. And you know, I'm eternally grateful for that. Yeah. I'm not sure I could offer anything now that I couldn't offer then. And I'm not sure what that would add. I'm not sure that would be helpful.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. No worries. Just as just thought I'd ask the initial question, just a few questions I want to ask you personally. What made you want to come back to the Unspoken Word podcast today?
I really enjoyed doing the first one.
Okay.
I think, there's an element of getting all the stories down and stuff. None of us are getting any younger. People think they know the stories of UK garage, and they think they know, it come out the Sunday scene and it come out of this and it come out of that. We haven't really spoken about that. There's other stories, there's other interesting things. The creative process, the socio-economic factors that were at play at that time, the diversity in London and the open-minded approach where you could work with anybody and listen to anything, and that whole thing, and putting that down and getting that across, I think is something I've found massively interesting to do. This was the first opportunity the first time that I'd ever put this stuff into a timeline. At the time, it was incredibly chaotic. I don't know if you've got that impression. We're naming mixes after cats, mate. Do you know what I mean? And KFC burgers. Do you know what I mean? and yeah, exactly. And kind of just wandering through it like, just messing major labels about without caring the world, and sacking managers and. Do you know what I mean? It was just, we just did what we did. Yeah. So now looking back on it, excuse me, I think this was an opportunity for me to put that into a timeline, put it into an order, and it's been interesting for me to do that. I'd never really thought about it in those terms before.
Okay, thank you. And how do you feel today's session went?
I hope it went all right. I've enjoyed doing it.
Yeah,
it's been fun.
Brilliant, thank you. And who would you recommend we bring on to the Unspoken Word to share their story?
What, one person or the entire list? There'd be a lot of people I'd like to see.
Just give me a couple of names.
I'd love to have Timmy. I'd love to hear Timmy Magic's story.
Okay,
there's a story I'd love to hear. Yeah. I think I know stuff about Timmy. He was signed to Morgan Khan's Street Sounds label, all of this stuff. I love Timmy's music. I'd love to know where that came from. Yeah. Where does Prey come from? Where does My Desire come from? Where does this stuff come from? What's the creative process there? Where does that lead to? Do you know what I mean? What makes you such a good DJ, bruv?
Yeah.
Timmy would be one. Steve Gurley, I'd love to know Steve Gurley's story. Well, I don't know nothing about him. That guy's just an enigma to me.
Yeah.
And I'm a proper fanboy there. If he was in the room, I'd be like, oh,
yeah,
hello. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Steve is someone where
I love that guy's music. So there's two.
Okay, that's fine. Right, so quick fire round. Do you know what's coming up? Okay, so just a couple for you. If you could do a remix of any track ever made, what would it be?
It would be a Depeche Mode track called Master and Servant, right?
Okay.
I love that track. There's an engineer, we haven't discussed him, but there were a couple of three engineers that really influenced me when I was coming up. One was Lee Scratch Perry.
Okay.
And there was another guy called Adrian Sherwood, right?
Okay.
From Bristol. He's part of a collective label, whatever, called On New Sound.
Okay.
This guy uses distortion for fun. Like, I've never heard, like, he did these remixes of People Are People and Master and Servant, and they just blew my mind. They blew my mind. The way that guy was just playing a desk and rolling distortion and echo, and he was bringing in all of these reggae vibes, but it was kind of industrial and it was just dirty. Anyway, yeah. So, because of Adrian Sherwood's remix of People Are People,
right,
I would like to do a remix of People Are People and make it half as dirty as that.
Okay.
I mean, Master and Servant, sorry, not People Are People.
Yeah.
Either.
Yeah. Okay. So. Dream holiday destination, if you had one. Think about this one.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? My dream holiday destination, we had the best holiday in the summer. We hadn't been away for a while.
Okay.
And we had the most amazing time in Crete. We were very lucky. We got a room upgrade. We had a private pool overlooking the bay with the sun rising over the mountains.
All right.
I was literally sitting there dabbling my toes in the pool at 6 o'clock. I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning every morning to watch the sunrise over the bay. with my feet in my private pool. Not only that, the pool was big enough to do lengths in. Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, them ones there. So I could have a bit of that again.
Yeah. There you go. That's one.
Yeah.
Okay. And last but not least, if you were on death row, what would be your last meal? And it can be a starter, main, a dessert, and a drink. And we'll leave it on there.
Toss-up. So starter would be a toss-up between a prawn cocktail. I love a prawn cocktail.
Okay.
Simple man. And foie gras on brioche, right, with a nice chutney, because, you know,
Of course.
I'm also quite bougie.
It's your last meal.
I don't know which one I'll choose. Probably a prawn cocktail, just because I could probably get more for more bounce to the ounce with that one.
Okay.
So for the main would be some form of Chateaubriand. I was very lucky to go to Anton Mosiman's restaurant once, and I had the Chateaubriand, and no word of a lie, a single tear rolled down my cheek. I'm crying now thinking about it. It was the most delicious steak I've ever had in my life.
Okay.
So I would have Anton Mosiman's Chateaubriand, please.
Okay.
And for pudding, I don't know, apple crumble. Can't go wrong, mate. With custard.
With custard.
Yeah.
That's one of my favourites as well.
Yeah. And for my drink, I've been really into Palomas lately. So Paloma is like a rose lemonade or a rose-coloured lemonade and tequila. Okay. But what it means is you can drink tequila, and no one knows.
Oh, right, okay.
So you can knock back a few tequilas on the sly, but it's got an umbrella in it.
There you go.
And it's literally tequila and lemonade.
I didn't even know. But
Yeah. Have a Paloma, man. But
Right.
you know, you can have some crazy juice, and everyone thinks you're being sophisticated.
Okay, that's your last meal. Thank you.
I'll die a happy man.
I'm not, but thank you. Right, thank you again for coming back on the Unspoken Word Podcast, Nathan. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane.
And of course, if you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe, as the man said at the start of the podcast. There we go. Of course, if you want to listen to the podcast on an audio format as well, you can link in the description as well to listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, to name a few. I can't think off the top of my head right now. But of course, guys, you know what to do. Get this out there. Get it out to your friends and let them know about the Unspoken Word Podcast. And again, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you. Thanks.